Hey y'all, Megan Brooks here with American Filament and LithophaneMaker.com. Thomas's better half, in case you don't know who I am yet. This video is talking about how I converted our Lulzbot TAS6 from the 2.85 millimeter filament it came printing to the 1.75 millimeter filament that we coincidentally make a lot of over at American Filament. It's so weird. It's a coincidence. At first, the cost of the tool head did kind of put me off. It's $375 for the tool head itself, and then with the TAS6 and even the TAS5, you have to get this universal tool head adapter. It was $28. It's all said and done around $400. Could have been worse. This is such a high quality machine. $400 in an upgrade really seemed worth it. Not to mention all the 1.75 millimeter filament I have languishing around, just begging to be printed with. So the installation itself was super easy. From start to finish, like start to my first test print, 45 minutes maybe. This went on 3-4 screws, so easy. I did have to print a new wiper pad mount before I disconnected the old tool head, but you know, it was an easy print. The actual wiper pad goes in a little bit differently on this setup, which was a little confusing. I'll address that later on in the video a little bit more. The firmware had to be updated. You know, I had to find our data cable. That took a couple extra minutes, but got it all connected to the laptop, opened up Cura, got the firmware updated. The Cura Lulzbot just popped up with the TAS6 with the M175 tool head as an option, so that made the machine profile so simple. We did a few tweaks because it's personal preference with all of the settings. We got going with our first print. We learned that the Z offset we needed to play with a little bit, the bed temperature, you know, all of that. The cooling is very different on this one, so that's why I think we had to change the bed temperature a little bit. But all in all, I am so thrilled. Honestly, I think that the prints coming off of this tool head are actually a better quality than the old tool head that it came with. And again, 1.75 millimeter. So all the colors, all the prints. Yeah, it's been a great upgrade. Stay tuned. I'll show you how easy it was and some of the beautiful things that we were able to print with it. All right, now the fun part begins. We get to unbox and see what we got inside. Thomas doesn't always let me have sharp objects, so may have cut myself a few too many times. So now that I've got the box open, here's all the goodies I found inside. There is a skinnier Bowden tube to accommodate my 1.75 millimeter filament. Another wiper pad, because can you really ever have enough? A congratulations note from Lulzbot, which was super sweet of them. I got this universal tool head adapter for our TAS6. The newer models of Lulzbot printers already have something like this installed on them, but for the older models you have to add this adapter. But the brilliant thing about this adapter is it's basically a plug and play if you want to have a different tool head. So I can go between this one, and if I want to go back to the 2.85, there's another tool head that plugs right in, or if I want dual extrusion, it just makes creating so much easier. And the great thing about this is it came with 3 screws. That's all it takes to put it in. That is like the simplest thing I've ever done with a 3D printer. So there were several great things about the M175 that made us choose this one over the H175. This one has the Bondtech BMG extruder, which has a push force of 140 newtons. It uses 2 gears rather than a single gear against a solid surface, so it can go faster with more force and less grinding of the filament. The H175 alternatively has the E3D Hemera extruder, which is exceptional if you're using flexibles because the distance between the extruder and the hot end is shorter, so less room for it to get off track. But the push force on that one is only 100 newtons. And since we have quite a lot of PLA laying around with American Filament, we thought the M175 clearly the better choice for us. On top of that, this has the awesome Mosquito Hotend that Slice Engineering put out. So instead of one thin little wire and a hot end that is constantly moving around on you if you ever breathe on it, this one is connected with 4 stiff rods. And by doing that, they have also practically eliminated the heat creep. The change of the nozzle is super easy. It just takes, one pair of pliers. You don't have to hold the hot end while you're trying to get it, which is always comical when I try to do it. Another great thing that both of them boast is this 360-degree cooling option where they have the ducting that puts it all the way around, but it does still allow you to see the print while it's going on, so you don't waste filament waiting to see if there's been a problem several layers later. And the stepper motor has actually been made a little bit shorter and smaller so that we can save some of the mass that goes onto the carriage. So another great thing about this one, it has a maximum flow of 25 cubic millimeters per second, whereas the H175 did only have a max flow of 10 cubic millimeters per second. So this one was all about speed and reliability, and it just made sense for us. So let's go see what it looks like when we get it all attached to our machine. Here's the new wiper pad mount that I had to print out, given the dimensions are a little bit different between the new tool head and the old tool head. You can use the link below to download the STL. Obviously, I printed it using American Filament. We make it here in Huntsville, Alabama, out of domestically sourced products and resins and all of that. So now comes the super fun part. I've crowned myself the queen of 3D printing in this house using my new Bowden tube. The installation of this is, it's super simple. We're going to connect the new tool head to the adapter, 3 screws, 1 in the back, 2 on top. Then we'll unplug, unscrew the 1 mounting screw, bing, bang, boom, change them out, all done. We have to do our firmware update, of course, and then we'll be good to go, making fun new things. So as I mentioned earlier, we did have a little bit of a weird time with the wiper pad mounts. The STL that I printed off from the Lulzbot website, as you can see, is lower and flatter than the original one was. The wiper pad has now gone from being skinny side up to the wider side up, so that there's more clearance for the new tool head. However, we had problems with the wiper pad pushing down too much, so it wasn't getting a good clean wipe. So just designed a little spacer. It's 5 millimeters tall, 10 wide, 88-ish long. We just made sure that it fit in here. The 5 millimeters tall is the big thing. Then when we install it over here, we have this little spacer underneath, and ta-da! It is nice and flat the way that Lulzbot intended. Another thing to be aware of that caught us by surprise is the retraction distance on this Mosquito Hotend. We've always used something more like 1.75 or 2 or, you know, something around that range. And apparently you're supposed to use a distance equal to the diameter of your nozzle. So for us, that means 0.5 millimeters on the retraction distance. And prior to figuring this out, we had the most horrendous clogs I have ever seen. The worst one included Thomas having to hold the heat brake that we had removed from the tool head. He had a metal rod and a soldering iron inserted on one end while I held the other end with a pair of pliers so he could get sufficient force going. And after several minutes of frustration, we did finally get that clog out, but it was a bear and I do not want to ever deal with that again. On the plus side though, that was an indication that the heat brake does indeed work as they claim. It's very good at dissipating heat. But now that we've changed that, we have not had another clogging issue at all. Of course, to test out this brand new tool head that is so amazing, we had to print a torture tests, you know, just so we know. I did use our American Filament neon green. It is fluorescent under UV light, so clearly I had to use UV light to explain it. We also have orange and pink in case you like those colors better. So on this torture test, we did not have any stringing. All of our diameters measured exactly how we wanted them to, and the overhang, it was perfect up until 60 degrees. Starts to get a little weird after that, but honestly, that's really what you expect. Everyone knows what a benchy is. You can see on this one at the bottom, we had some problems with the bed, adhesion, boogers, not exactly sure, but whatever it is, we ended up having to adjust our bed temperature and lower it down to 50 degrees rather than the 60 we've been using, and that has cleared it up on all of our other prints so far. This beautiful print is a replacement for the foot on the bottom of my step stool that I use all the time because I'm a short person and I gotta be able to reach stuff. I mean, just look how smooth those layer lines are. It came out beautiful. All right, go.
This drawing looks really cool. There's not very much problems with it. Thanks to the tool head.
The new one?
The new tool head.
Yeah, and what are we gonna do with this dragon?
It's one of my brother's presents.
And that's the story of how I treated myself to a Christmas present where I was able to turn my Lulzbot into a 1.75 millimeter beast of a machine instead of the 2.85 that it originally was. Overall, it was super simple. Lulzbot did an amazing job with this new system. I love that they have an adapter for us old school people with TAS 6s, 5s, 4s, you know, the old ones. And, you know, we had to do some tweaking with the bed temperature, the Z offset. The wiper was a little bit weird where originally it went up and then it had to go sideways, and this one took us a little while to figure out how that worked. But once we got it, it's been good to go, as demonstrated by this lovely stress test. That is just beautiful, exactly what you want it to look like. So I'm so excited to be able to use my American Filament on this fabulous machine in my house, and I don't know what I'm gonna pick next, but I have a birthday coming up in a couple months, so I'll have to pick something good. If you haven't done it already, please like and subscribe to our Facebook groups, our YouTube channel, all that stuff. And we have American Filament and LithophaneMaker.com Facebook pages. And last but not least, if you're new to Lithophanes and LithophaneMaker, please join the user group if you have not already. There's so many great resources, so many kind humans. you know, just a great place to ask questions, be treated with respect, and learn how to use the tool. That concludes this video. I can't wait to talk to y'all again soon. I'm gonna have to scheme about what I print next. Bye.